We have our guest ready, so we're going to bring in Sweeny Murti in 1 second. First, a quick word from Game Time. Guys, we've all been there before, logging on, waiting for tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show or a game you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping, and that's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting tickets to a concert, a comedy event, or a baseball, football, or basketball game easier than ever. Prices actually drop the closer it gets to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with Game Time's killer last-minute deals. You heard Bull tell his story about it earlier in the show. Well, Game Time really works. Take the guesswork out of buying your tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. We're going to bring in Sweeny Murti here from MLB.com in 1 second. But first, we have a little teaser from his brand new show that came out last week called No Easy Outs, which featured Cleveland Guardians outfielder Stephen Kwan. Take a listen.
I was able to start the first game of the season, which should show how the staff felt about me. And I just did not feel that way about myself at all. Like I thought I was really lucky to start the first game when I struck out twice. And I remember, I think after my second strikeout, just like being in the dugout, talking to one of the assistant coaches, being like, what's happening? Like almost on the verge of tears. It took a lot of growth that year to get to where I wanted to be. Understanding there was a problem up there. This was a completely different feeling. Rapid breathing, all these kind of things. Like I just knew I had to slow everything down. And when I thought of meditation back then, I thought of like the incense burning and you're cross-legged, fingers up. But it was nothing like that. It was really just identifying thoughts that you have, recognizing them, and then being able to move on from there. And I thought that was super powerful because once I applied that practice to just even like a batting cage session, I'm like, I have all these thoughts in my head right now that I had no idea. Like no wonder I couldn't hit. Like I'm thinking a million miles an hour right now. So that was like the first step to really understanding like this is truly a very mental game and I need to dominate that.
That obviously was part of the episode with the Guardian Stephen Kwan, and here's my friend Sweeny Murti with us now. Sweeny, how you been, my friend? What's going on?
Well, I'm great, and let me just apologize right off the bat to everybody. I got my times mixed up. I thought we were on at night last week, so I didn't mean to blow you guys off. I just assumed you were like the David Letterman of Cleveland by now.
I mean, really? Sweetie, I've been in the business 25 years. You still think I'm working late nights? I mean, I'm too old for that crap, Sweeny, you know. Yeah, and this is a show that is trying to engage with kids. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're looking for that group that's, between 7 and 12 years old, little league age kids, and watching with their parents, really, because these are the kinds of things that you want your kids to really pick up on. Understand that major league stars just aren't great players all the time. They had troubles too. And part of what Steven talks about were some of his struggles in college, but also growing up, trying to find his identity as someone who is short and shorter than almost every one of his friends, and being an Asian American in a sport that at the time didn't have a lot of Asian American people to look up to. So, he mentions Ichiro as being one of his first role models in that regard. So we're trying to get to people. Andrew McCutcheon is our next episode, and that drops tomorrow, 10 a.m. on MLB's YouTube, where all these shows live. We just want parents and little league age kids to really understand that big league players have struggles that they overcame and are just like that.
I think this is really important, Sweeny. Engaging kids in baseball. Like, I've been coaching my son in Little League for the last 4 years. Myself and a couple other guys, we started a new fall baseball league that we start immediately after Little League because we have a lot of kids that want to play baseball. But it's interesting because, obviously I'm spending a lot of time with these kids. Even though they love playing, not that many are regularly watching baseball. And when I was a kid and when you were a kid, we all watched baseball, especially growing up in the New York area. I mean, every kid I knew watched baseball. And the young kids, even the ones that like playing, there's a few, but a lot of them are not watching. And baseball needs to do a better job of connecting with those kids, especially the ones that like to play. They got to get them watching too.
Yeah, and we're finding kind of different ways to do that. This is the first episode that we've put out here. We've got a few more for this season, and then we'll get out a couple of more, really dig in on season 2, because we're coming up to the end of the season here in postseason. Listen, there's still a lot of great baseball being played, and it's frankly, it's a little bit easier to watch for kids right now because it is moving at a faster pace.
Yep.
And we do have some things that we're doing with that. And, a lot of kids are, like your kids and mine, they're attached to their phones, right? So this show streams on YouTube on MLB, and a lot of digital content that is being created to kind of help them become fans and stay fans.
Sweeny, the last week we were discussing the Guardians' chances of making the postseason. Obviously, before they went up against the Braves, they was probably like a game or a half a game.
They were a half game out.
Yeah, half game out. Obviously, they got swept, and right now they're sitting at 3 games out. But McNuggets brought up run differential?
Run differential.
And they are like minus 32. And everybody else is like plus 40, plus 90. Do you think that really matters? Or do you think that gives an accurate definition of them making the postseason?
Well, what it tells you in general is that they're playing above what their numbers are, right? So they're doing a really good job of maximizing what they have. So credit to Stephen Vogt and the Guardians for staying in this playoff race. But you're at a point in time right now, like run differential and everything like that measures kind of things that are expected over the course of a long season. This is no longer a long season. The playoffs begin in 6 weeks, 6 short weeks from today. That's less than spring training. So you're talking about a time period where almost anything can happen, and it's a little bit different than it used to be. One, you do have the 3 wild card spots. You used to have 2 until a few years ago. But you also have the trading deadline is passed, and we're no longer in an August window where teams could still make these waiver trades where you sneak player through waivers and you still we're able to add big league help. You can't make those trades anymore, and things can rise up or fall apart very quickly for a team. A few years ago, the Yankees were riding high into August. They suffered major injuries to Anthony Rizzo and Matt Carpenter and DJ LeMahieu, and they're not trading for, and all happened a week into August. They're not trading for big league players to fill those holes. You kind of have to go from within and see what happens. So there's a lot that can happen here. And when you're only 3 games out, I don't count anybody out.
Sweeny, I look, you just mentioned the Yankees. Now the Guardians are behind the Yankees in the wild card. But I don't know why this happens because there's a stigma in my head that I always look at the Guardians and I look at the Yankees and I'm like, yes, they are close. But every time we play the Yankees, it seems that we play hard, we're up, we're winning the game, and then here comes the 3-run home run. And it's just like the Yankees' room for error seems to be more than the Guardians. When you're coming down the backstretch and you're looking at the composition of the 2 teams, it seems like the Yankees have more room for error because they can hit the baseball, and it seems like the Guardians have to play pinpoint accurate baseball to kind of stay and compete. How do you think this thing shakes out in the last month or 2?
Listen, if you get into the playoffs and you have a short series, one guy can change the complexion of a game. The Yankees obviously have Aaron Judge. And listen, Jose Ramirez is that kind of guy, and everybody around baseball does view him that way. And we saw last year, the Guardians are capable of stealing a game. That late inning magic that they had, they didn't outlast the Yankees in the series, but you still obviously have talent there that, like I said, anything can happen in one of these series. But, you brought up a great point. Like, all the time, during the course of a season, it's not unheard of for, the Guardians to win 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. So why is it so hard to win 4 out of 5? Or 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 7. It's the same game. Pressure gets ratcheted up. Some players rise up, some don't. A lot of different things happen. But listen, it's very easy for you to sit there and say, sure, Cleveland can win 2 out of 3 against the Yankees. So you give them any chance in the series. I think the baseball postseason is always wide open for that reason.
Sweeny, I want to talk more about Stephen Kwan, who you interviewed for your show. We love Stephen Kwan here. I think the whole town was kind of holding. I know you and I first spoke about you coming on right before the trade deadline, and everybody was kind of holding their breath about whether or not Stephen Kwan would get traded. Nobody wants him gone. He's very likable. He comes off as very down to earth. I'm sure you experienced that. The fact that he's talked publicly so much about his imposter syndrome that he was going through, and like most athletes would never talk about something like that. He's like a nerd, he plays chess, does all these things, and we love it, and nobody wanted him gone. But they haven't been able to come up with a long-term agreement with him. He's a very unique player for 2025 baseball. I'm not sure who his comp was. I thought maybe it was like an Andrew Benintendi, who's obviously not as good as we thought he'd be at the time. But there's not a lot of players like him. His one flaw is that he doesn't have much power, but he does everything else well. So I don't know what his dollar value is. Do you have any sense of that?
You're right. It's hard to gauge that because power is what gets paid in this market. But let me tell you something, Bull. You weren't the only one. We've been putting this show together since early June with Steven.
Yeah.
We're getting up to the trade deadline. We know that this show debuts in August. We're sweating bullets that he's sitting there in Cleveland Guardians gear in the entire show.
Right, yeah.
It's like we can't airbrush all that stuff out. Let's go. Let's keep him there. I think he is a terrific player to have. You build a team around guys like Kwan and Jose Ramirez. You can do that. I don't know what the market holds. I haven't spoken to Steven specifically about what his goals are as far as long-term contract and what free agency can bring. So there's a lot of different variables there, including what's really just inside his heart. But you're right. He seems to really love his place in Cleveland. And there's still time to get that together. You're not up against the deadline this year on that.
Sweeny, where are you at on the MLB expansion? We were just talking about, them potentially going to Nashville and.
You stole my question. I was waiting for that question. Go ahead, Sweeny. He's a dirty, go ahead.
Yeah.
Did
you read his mind?
That's crazy, right? Well, listen, once you split the leagues up again evenly in 15 and 15 a few years ago and created interleague play pretty much every day, I think you knew that down the road at some point a possibility would have to be that you add 2 more teams and you're back to 16 in each league, and it sets up, however you want to align that. I don't know. Listen, it happens way above my pay grade. I don't know where they stand at the exact moment on that, but I think if you're looking at the way the sport evolves and the way the league looks, I would think it makes a lot of sense to have 32 teams.
Yeah, I agree. I got no problem with it. I know. Howie Rose, who, of course, very well and is a great broadcaster, he was apoplectic about this. He hates, I'm really torn on Manfred. I was just saying this. There's a lot of things about the way he's handled the players and negotiations that I think are very poor. But honestly, even as an old school baseball fan, I love the pitch clock. It's made a huge difference in terms of time of game. I love the ghost runner at second base. I'm sure I'm in the minority on it. I love it. I just think they've done a lot of things that have improved the game. They've got to promote it better. I didn't even know about that NASCAR game until it happened. I had no clue. And they need to promote the Little League game better. But I think change is good. Going to DH in both leagues, home run move. That was such a great move to get rid of pitchers hitting.
Well, first of all, let me tell you, if you want to make sure you know what's happening, follow MLB on all your social channels. We were promoting the Little League Classic. We were promoting the Speedway Classic. So it's all there. Just make sure you're on that. I heard a bit of wisdom a few years ago, Bull, that I'm going to share with you. And kind of tying back to the comment that you're talking about from Howie and everybody else. I heard somebody say one time that every baseball fan just wants the game to be what it's like when they were 10 years old.
Right.
And it's kind of a wheelhouse age because you're old enough to read, you're old enough to do math and figure out batting averages and things like that, and you understand some of the more complex things about the game. You check the standings, you're doing that every day, and you have the ability to really dig in and understand that. Well, that means something different to everybody. If you're 30 or if you're 60, that 10-year-old window, baseball looked a lot different. Yeah. And it's kind of what everybody kind of always falls back on. I think if you just stop and watch the players that are on the field right now and how exciting the game is, you'll understand that it's there. Another person that I speak with pretty regularly said, listen, the game's not any better. It's not any worse. It's just different. And it's our job to work with what's there. And what's there, if you're watching, man, there's some really incredible athletic players in the field. And instead of trying to pick them apart for what they can't do, I think we really need to spend time enjoying what they can do.
I 100% agree. I enjoy baseball the way it is now. It's flawed just like any other sport, but I think it's good. It's a different game. Yes, we all grew up looking at. I don't even look at batting average anymore, frankly. I really don't. I look at their OPS. That's all. That's my stat. That's my go-to. Are they slugging? Are they getting on base? That's what's important to me. It changes. I like where baseball is right now. I think it's a good game. It's a good sport, and I think expansion would be good. And I think changing the division, although that Northeast division, Yankees, Mets, Phillies, Red Sox,
Crazy.
that would just be nuts. But I love it. The Mets and Yankees in the same division is great. It would be great, don't you think? I think Sweeny froze up.
Yeah.
I did freeze. Give him 1 sec to get back in here.
He'll get on. I love that division. I think it's exciting.
I wanted to ask him about Cal Raleigh, by the way, if he pops back in for a sec.
Oh, yeah.
And I know it has nothing to do with Cleveland.
Yeah.
And Sweeney's back. We got Sweeny back. So, yeah, Sweeny, we got him back. Sorry about that.
So, what do you like that division, Sweeny?
I mean, I don't know what the final thing is going to look like. I don't even see. I tell you the truth, I had no idea what divisions they put up when the.
That was Jim Bowden. Jim Bowden just threw out a prediction of what it would be.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I mean, honestly, no idea. I think that you just kind of have to wait to see what it looks like. But like we kind of just talked about, whatever happens, the game is going to be the game, and the players are just so electric to watch. I mean, I love, right there in your home state, I love watching Ellie De La Cruz, and I watch him, and I think Alfonso Soriano from 20 years ago, or I think Juan Samuel from 40 years ago. I mean, these are exciting players. And I know we start to pick apart guys like him, O'Neal Cruz, and the swing and miss, man. It's just hard to hit right now when everybody's out there throwing 100 miles an hour, and you see 4 different guys a night when you're coming to bat 5 times. So there are some things that just aren't the same. But, man, when these guys play and you see them do their thing, it's really fun to watch.
It's funny that you say that, Sweetie, because I was watching the Cubs and Brewers yesterday, and I was thinking how Nico Horner reminds me of Tom Herr.
Yeah.
Like Nico Horner in the 80s would have been a 2-hitter, 100% 2-hitter, and now he bats lower in the lineup. He doesn't have any power, but there's comps for all guys. But I do think the game is in a good place. Attendance is pretty good. I do think we need to fix. There is a problem in terms of payroll disparity. I personally think it's the fault of the cheaper owners and not the more expensive owners. But you need to find a way to the Guardians can't keep being a farm team for other teams. It hurts attendance here, and same thing for the other small market teams. But that needs to be fixed. And we'll see what happens with this labor stoppage. But overall, I think the game has a lot more positives than negatives to me.
Well, I think you and I can just get in a room and hammer all this out, right?
Yeah,
we don't need to wait. Let's just do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Go ahead, Mike. You wanted to ask about Cal?
I had to ask because I know you cover all teams, and we're so hyper-focused here in Cleveland, Sweeny, but Cal Raleigh's projected, based on his current pace, as a catcher to hit 60 home runs and drive in 131 RBIs. Sweeny, when you look back at all the incredible things you've seen individual players accomplish over the course of your career covering the league, where is what Cal Raleigh's doing right now in Seattle rank among some of just the most absurd things you've ever seen, considering the position he plays defensively?
Yeah, it's the position which does it. And I don't know his exact breakdown, the number of games he's caught versus games he's DH'd, but that's going to be a big factor here down the stretch, because historically you have a lot of catchers who do have big first halves, but then they wear down because catching takes a lot out of you when you're talking about July, August, and September. And I'm curious to see where he goes in these final 6 weeks of the regular season. I think back to Mike Piazza had these amazing seasons, but he was never winning MVPs when he was the Mets because those August, September numbers always took a little bit of a hit down. I watched Jorge Posada with the Yankees, who was a very good offensive player who played a lot of games behind the plate. And his August and September numbers were never quite as good as they were earlier in the year. So there is a lot of wear and tear. And I'm curious to see, especially with the Mariners in the race, how teams are going to pitch to him and what the wear and tear behind the plate does over these final, 100, 150 at-bats, whatever he's going to get.
Yeah, I mean, if the season ended today, I'm voting for Cal Raleigh personally.
That's crazy.
Over Aaron Judge. And I know Aaron Judge is having a great season. But the fact that he has to play catcher, and he plays catcher at a high level, And the Mariners, to me, the Mariners are nowhere without him. Nowhere. They're not a playoff team without him.
I don't think you can argue with like if somebody voted for Cal Raleigh over Aaron Judge and put Aaron Judge second. I mean, I wouldn't argue with you, right? If you voted Aaron Judge first and put Cal Raleigh second, you have your reasons. I wouldn't argue with you. I think it's that close because those two guys are having such great years, and it's just going to come down to the difference of opinion of the voters. That's all.
Sweeny, do you think Major League Baseball will change its approach, or is there a need to change its approach on gambling?
In what way?
There was some legislations that talked about not letting people bet on pitch to pitch, like or balls and strikes.
In Ohio, they're talking about that specifically because of the situation with Clase and Ortiz. Our governor wants to try to end, pitch by pitch gambling
for fans.
For fans, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's legislation for fans. It has nothing to do with the players. I understand the concern. I don't think that there's any effect on that on the players themselves in the game, so I can't really speak to that. But it's something that obviously is being talked about because of the situation you guys have there.
Sweeny, before I let you go, tell us again about the show and how the folks can watch it.
No Easy Outs is the brand new show. It's on MLB's YouTube channel. Follow MLB on YouTube, all your other social platforms like X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and you'll get access to the clips and the full episodes there. You can subscribe to MLB's YouTube channel and get those episodes delivered to you. Stephen Kwan featured in the first one, and a lot of good reviews from a lot of people I know in Cleveland too. So I'm glad they enjoyed seeing him in a new light and seeing him speak out. Andrew McCutchen, who you see there, is episode 2. That tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. on MLB's YouTube. And I hope you guys enjoy it because McCutchen talks about giving up a championship-winning hit as a pitcher in Little League when he was 12 years old. Can you imagine being on the same field with Andrew McCutchen, that athlete at 12 years old, and you got to beat him in a Little League game? Coming back from that, fighting back from that, and understanding that failure is a part of the game and you have to learn how to deal with it, a life lesson like that, that's McCutchen's story that you'll see tomorrow.
That is great. The Stephen Kwan episode was great. I've watched it. Make sure you check it out with your kids, especially if they're, I believe you said 8 to 12. I think that is a perfect range. And Andrew McCutchen, like Stephen Kwan, I don't know him personally, but from all accounts is one of the most likable guys in all of Major League Baseball. I assume that's the case, Sweeny?
Absolutely. Terrific guy. Listen, Roberto Clemente Award winner, right? Yeah. That says a lot about who he is. And, he's accomplished so much in this game. And I'll tell you this about him, he has presence, right? When Andrew McCutchen talks, you want to just keep hearing him talk. Yeah.
That basically sums it up. Sweeny, we appreciate it. Best of luck with the show. Yep. Everybody will follow MLB on all social media and check out the show. We'll talk to you again soon, Sweeny. Thanks.